And if I told you that the difference between the life you are living and the life you dream of living is not talent, not opportunity, not luck, but a single faculty that lies dormant in 99% of humanity, a spiritual muscle called willpower that when awakened and trained becomes an irresistible force capable of breaking any habit, creating any reality, and manifesting any transformation you desire in 24 hours. What if I reveal to you that willpower is not something you either have or do not have, not a genetic gift distributed unfairly by nature, but a divine energy flowing from your soul that can be consciously developed through specific techniques I discovered during my decades of spiritual research. Techniques that transform weak-willed victims of circumstance into dynamic masters of destiny who command their habits, their thoughts, their bodies, and ultimately their entire reality. This is not motivational speaking or self-help platitudes. This is spiritual science that recognizes willpower as the bridge between your human limitations and God's unlimited power. And when you learn to unite your individual will with divine will through the practices of Kriya Yoga and conscious concentration, you become unstoppable in both spiritual and material pursuits. I am Paramahansa Yogananda, and I have spent my entire life teaching students how to develop what I call dynamic willpower, the force that has allowed me to establish organizations across continents, write books that transform millions of lives, maintain rigorous spiritual practices for decades, and demonstrate that human beings are not slaves to their conditioning, but creators of their destiny. Today, I give you the exact technique to develop unstoppable willpower that will shatter your limitations and transform your life starting tonight. Before we proceed, activate the frequency of divine willpower by writing in the comments, I unite my will with God's unlimited power and I become unstoppable. This is not a wish or a hope. It is a command that awakens the dormant force within you, and by declaring it publicly, you commit your entire being to this transformation. Now pay absolute attention, because what I am about to reveal will expose the fundamental lie that keeps people trapped in weakness, the lie that you are powerless to change, the devastating reason that 99% of people fail to change their habits, fail to transform their lives, fail to manifest their dreams despite endless resolutions and sincere intentions, is because they confuse wish with will and therefore apply wish level energy to tasks that require will level power. And the result is predictable failure followed by resignation and the false belief that they are simply not strong enough to change. Listen carefully to this distinction that I have taught for decades, because it is the key to everything. A wish is a desire without energy. A wish says, I want to meditate every morning while lying in bed hitting the snooze button. A wish says, I want to quit this destructive habit while continuing to indulge in it. A wish says, I want to transform my life while taking no concrete action toward transformation. Wishes are fantasies, mental entertainment, emotional experiences that produce temporary excitement but zero actual movement in physical reality. Will is completely different. Will is desire plus energy. Will is the combination of clear intention and dynamic force. Will is the power that moves your hand, walks your body, builds civilizations, and when developed to its highest potential, manifests miracles that defy natural law. You use willpower every single moment of your life, whether you realize it or not, because without willpower you could not move a single muscle, you could not form a single thought, you could not take a single breath. The problem is that most people use their willpower unconsciously, mechanically, allowing habits installed in childhood to control their actions, allowing social conditioning to dictate their desires, allowing fear and limitation to drain their energy, never realizing that willpower can be consciously directed, systematically strengthened, and ultimately united with the infinite power of God to accomplish anything. When people tell me they have weak willpower, I tell them they are lying to themselves. You do not have weak willpower. You have untrained willpower. The difference is critical. Weak suggests permanent limitation. Untrained suggests enormous potential awaiting development. A person with untrained muscles is not permanently weak. They simply need to exercise systematically, and within weeks those muscles grow strong. Willpower operates on the exact same principle. It is a spiritual muscle that grows stronger with use and atrophies with neglect. And I am going to teach you the exact exercises that build this muscle so powerfully that you will astound yourself with what you become capable of accomplishing. When I was a young man, studying under my guru Sri Yukteswar in India, I witnessed something that changed my entire understanding of human potential and laid the foundation for my teachings on willpower. I watched my guru, a man of advanced age, perform feats of self-control and sustained concentration that would exhaust man half his age, not through gritting his teeth and forcing himself through sheer stubborn determination, but through a calm, joyful application of will that seemed effortless yet accomplished tremendous results. I asked him the secret, and he taught me the 5 stages of willpower that every soul must understand and master. The first stage is instinctive will, the biological drives that operate automatically to keep your body alive, making you breathe, making your heart beat, making you eat when hungry and sleep when exhausted. This level requires no conscious development. It is given by nature. The second stage is mechanical will or habit, the automatic patterns of behavior that you have repeated so many times they now run without conscious thought. This is where most people live their entire lives, creatures of habit who wake at the same time, eat the same foods, think the same thoughts, make the same choices year after year, wondering why their lives never change when they are literally mechanizing their existence through unconscious repetition. The third stage is thinking will, the conscious decision-making faculty that awakens when you pause before acting and ask yourself, is this choice aligned with my highest good? This is where transformation becomes possible, because thinking will allows you to interrupt automatic habits and choose differently. But most people use thinking will only occasionally, in moments of crisis or rare inspiration, then quickly fall back into mechanical habit. The fourth stage is dynamic will, the sustained concentrated force that persists through obstacles, failures, and resistance until the goal is accomplished. And this is the stage I am teaching you to develop, because dynamic will makes you unstoppable in any pursuit, whether spiritual realization or material achievement. The fifth and highest stage is divine will, the complete surrender of your individual desires to God's will. And paradoxically, this surrender gives you access to infinite power because you are no longer working from your limited personal energy, but channeling the unlimited cosmic force through your consciousness. My entire teaching aims to guide students from the prison of mechanical habit through the development of dynamic will to the ultimate freedom of divine will. And the technique I am about to give you specifically develops the critical fourth stage where human effort meets divine grace. Now let me explain with absolute precision why habits control your life and how willpower liberates you from this control. Because once you understand the mechanism, you gain power over it. Your subconscious mind, which governs 90% of your behavior, operates on the principle of efficiency through repetition, meaning it constantly seeks to automate any action you perform repeatedly so that you do not have to think about it consciously, thereby freeing your conscious mind for new challenges. This is why you can drive a car while having a conversation, why you can walk without thinking about each step, why you can perform complex work tasks that once required intense concentration but now feel automatic. This automation is useful for necessary activities, but it becomes a prison when negative habits get automated. If you habitually reach for unhealthy food when stressed, your subconscious automates this pattern and triggers it without conscious decision. If you habitually procrastinate on difficult tasks, your subconscious automates avoidance, and you find yourself making excuses before you even realize you made a choice. If you habitually think negative thoughts about yourself, your subconscious automates self-criticism, and it becomes the background noise of your mental life. These automated patterns are grooves cut deep in your consciousness through repetition, and thoughts and behaviors flow through these grooves the way water flows through channels, taking the path of least resistance. To change a habit, you must do 2 things simultaneously. Stop feeding energy to the old groove so it gradually fills in and becomes shallow, and simultaneously cut a new groove through repeated practice of the desired behavior until it becomes the new automatic pattern. But here is what makes this process fail for most people. They try to change habits using only conscious willpower, meaning they rely on constant vigilant effort to override the automatic pattern, and this requires enormous energy that quickly depletes, leading to relapse and reinforcement of the belief that they cannot change. The secret I teach is to enlist your subconscious as an ally rather than fighting it as an enemy. And you do this by programming new commands into the subconscious during the state of quietude, when the conscious mind relaxes its grip and the subconscious becomes receptive to new instructions. Additionally, you must understand that willpower itself is not willpower alone. Willpower is you channeling divine power through your individual consciousness. And when you recognize this and consciously invoke God's energy to support your efforts, your capacity multiplies exponentially. Now I give you the exact technique that I have taught to thousands of students with documented transformation of lives. The technique that develops dynamic willpower so powerfully that habits that have controlled you for decades dissolve within days, replaced by new patterns that serve your highest evolution. This practice has three components that must be applied together: the nighttime subconscious command, the morning will training exercise, and the daily moment of choice intervention. Let me teach you each component with absolute precision. Tonight, 60 seconds before sleep, you will enter the state of quietude by taking 10 slow deep breaths and allowing your body to relax completely while your mind remains alert and focused. Then you will identify the single most important habit you want to change or the single most important new habit you want to install. Do not try to change multiple habits simultaneously. This scatters your willpower and ensures failure. Choose one, the most critical one that if changed would create the greatest positive impact in your life. Now, with your hand placed on your heart to create energetic connection, speak this command silently in your mind with absolute conviction. I command my subconscious mind to reject all automatic patterns that no longer serve me. I possess unlimited willpower flowing from my divine nature. Starting tomorrow, I am a person who described the desired identity and behavior in present tense as if already true. My will is united with God's will, and I am unstoppable in this transformation. This is not my wish. This is my command. This is not my hope. This is my identity. The key is to describe yourself as the person who already has the new habit, not as someone trying to develop it. You are not trying to become disciplined. You are a disciplined person. You are not hoping to quit the destructive habit. You are a person who is free from that habit. This identity level declaration penetrates deeper into your subconscious than goal level statements, because the subconscious accepts identity as fundamental truth and automatically aligns all behaviors to match that identity. As you speak this command, you must generate intense feeling, not the feeling of desperation or trying, but the feeling of certainty, power, and divine backing. Feel yourself surrounded by God's unlimited energy, supporting your transformation. Feel the old pattern dissolving. Feel the new identity settling into your consciousness like a key fitting perfectly into a lock. Hold this feeling for as long as you can maintain it before sleep takes you, and let it be the last vibration in your awareness as you drift into unconsciousness, because this seeds your entire subconscious for the transformation that begins tomorrow. The second component occurs immediately upon waking, and this is what I call the will training exercise that systematically strengthens your willpower muscle through progressive resistance, just as physical exercise strengthens your body. The moment you wake, before checking your phone or engaging with any distraction, sit up in bed and perform this practice. Decide on one small action that you do not feel like doing, but that you know you should do, something that creates mild resistance in your mind. It might be making your bed immediately. It might be doing 10 push-ups. It might be writing 3 sentences in a journal. It might be standing under cold water for 30 seconds. The specific action matters less than the fact that it requires you to override your preference for comfort and convenience. Now, before you perform this action, close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths while consciously thinking, I am about to exercise my divine willpower. I am proving to myself that I control my actions. My actions do not control me. I choose this action with full consciousness and full force. Then perform the action with complete attention, and deliberate intensity, not mechanically or grudgingly, but with the awareness that you are wielding willpower consciously. After completing the action, acknowledge what you just accomplished. I did something I did not feel like doing, which proves I have willpower. I am strengthening this power with each use. This might seem like a trivial exercise, but I assure you it is one of the most powerful practices I have ever taught, because it breaks the hypnotic spell of habit and proves to your conscious and subconscious mind that you are not a slave to your impulses. Each morning, choose a slightly more challenging act of will, progressively increasing the resistance you override, and within weeks you will develop such strong willpower that the major habit you are transforming will feel effortless because you have been training for it daily. Most people fail at major transformations because they try to climb the mountain without training on hills first. You will do the opposite. You will build your strength systematically until the mountain becomes a hill. The third component is the moment of choice intervention that you apply throughout your day whenever you encounter the trigger for your old habit or the opportunity to practice your new behavior. At this critical moment, most people operate on autopilot. The trigger activates the automatic response, and they perform the habitual action before conscious awareness even registers. You will interrupt this process through a technique I call the sacred pause. The instant you notice the trigger or feel the impulse arising, you will pause for exactly 3 breaths before taking any action. During these 3 breaths, you will say silently, I am conscious right now. I have a choice right now. I choose with divine willpower to state the desired action. This 3-breath pause creates space between stimulus and response, and in that space, choice becomes possible. In that space, your dynamic willpower can assert itself instead of mechanical habit running automatically. In that space, you remember the identity you declared before sleep. You remember the training you did this morning. You remember that you are united with God's unlimited power. And from this remembrance, the right action flows naturally without struggle, because you are not forcing yourself to resist temptation. You are simply being who you have declared yourself to be. The first few times you practice this sacred pause, it will feel awkward and require significant effort because you are interrupting decades of conditioning. But each time you successfully pause and choose consciously, you weaken the old groove and deepen the new groove. And within days, the new pattern begins to feel natural. Within weeks, it becomes your new automatic behavior. And within 30 days of consistent practice, you will have completely rewired your subconscious programming around this habit. Now let me tell you exactly what will happen in the next 24 hours after you begin this practice tonight. Because the changes manifest faster than your rational mind expects, and you must recognize them as confirmation that the technique is working. Tonight, when you speak the subconscious command before sleep, you will likely experience an unusual sensation of power and certainty that feels almost electric in your body. This is the activation of your willpower in conscious awareness, and it is a good sign. Tomorrow morning when you wake, you will notice yourself naturally remembering your commitment, even before checking your phone or falling into your usual morning routine. This is your subconscious responding to last night's command. When you perform the will training exercise, you will feel a surge of satisfaction and self-respect that is disproportionate to the simple action you perform, because you are experiencing the deep truth that you control yourself rather than being controlled by circumstances or impulses. As you move through your day, the critical moment will arrive when you encounter the trigger for your old habit or the opportunity to practice your new behavior. This is the test. At this moment, you will notice something different, a slight hesitation, a small space of awareness that was not there yesterday when the habit ran automatically. This space is your willpower awakening. Use the sacred pause in this moment. Take 3 conscious breaths. Make the conscious choice. And whether you succeed perfectly or struggle in this first attempt, you will have done something revolutionary. You will have brought consciousness to a previously unconscious pattern. And this alone is 50% of the transformation. By the evening of your first day practicing this technique, you will feel fundamentally different about yourself. You will have evidence that you can exercise willpower, that you are not a victim of your habit. That change is not only possible, but inevitable when you apply divine power through conscious practice. This evidence is more valuable than any motivation or inspiration because it is experiential proof that transformed your self-concept at the deepest level. But I must give you critical understanding so you do not misuse this power or become discouraged by temporary setbacks that are normal in any transformation process. First, understand that developing willpower is not about becoming rigid, controlling, or forcing yourself through life with clenched teeth and constant effort. Dynamic willpower feels effortless once developed because you are channeling divine energy, not straining against your own resistance. If you find yourself struggling intensely every single day, you are doing it wrong. You are trying to change through force instead of through conscious alignment with your higher nature. Second, expect that you will occasionally revert to old patterns, especially in moments of extreme stress or fatigue. And when this happens, do not interpret it as total failure or evidence that the technique does not work. Every transformation involves 2 steps forward and 1 step back until the new pattern fully establishes itself. The key is to immediately return to your practice without guilt or self-punishment. Simply recommit to the subconscious command that night and begin again the next morning. Third, remember that the ultimate goal is not simply to change one habit, but to develop such strong willpower that you become master of your entire consciousness, able to direct your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors toward whatever serves your highest spiritual evolution. The specific habit you are changing now is training ground for this larger mastery. Fourth, understand that willpower without wisdom leads to accomplishment of wrong goals. Before you apply your will to any objective, take time to meditate and ask yourself, is this goal aligned with my soul's purpose? Is this transformation truly serving my evolution toward God realization, or merely serving my ego's desires? Dynamic willpower directed towards selfish ends creates karma that binds you, but dynamic willpower directed toward divine service and self-transcendence creates liberation. I have spent my entire life proving that human beings are not weak creatures destined to be slaves of their conditioning, but divine souls temporarily forgetting their infinite nature. And the moment they remember and apply their God-given power through techniques like the one I have taught today, they transform from victims into victors, from reactors into creators, from mechanical robots into conscious masters of destiny. The development of dynamic willpower is not a luxury for people interested in self-improvement. It is absolutely essential for anyone serious about spiritual realization, because every step on the path to God requires you to overcome resistance. Whether the resistance of your restless mind during meditation, the resistance of your body during posture and breath practices, the resistance of your ego during surrender to divine will, or the resistance of your old conditioning during character transformation. Without willpower, you will remain at the starting gate of the spiritual journey, having beautiful intentions and profound understanding, but zero actual progress. With developed willpower, you move forward steadily regardless of obstacles, setbacks, or the magnitude of transformation required. The technique I have given you today is your key to this development, but like all keys, it only works when you actually insert it into the lock and turn it. Knowledge without application is completely useless. You can listen to this teaching 1,000 times, but if you do not perform the nighttime subconscious command tonight, if you do not perform the morning will training exercise tomorrow, if you do not practice the sacred pause at your moment of choice, then nothing will change in your life, and you will continue being controlled by the same habits that have limited you for years or decades. But if you apply this technique with faith, with consistency, with understanding that you are not working alone, but united with divine power, then 24 hours from now you will be a different person. 30 days from now, you will be unrecognizable to your former self. And 1 year from now, you will look back in amazement at what you accomplished through the systematic development of unstoppable willpower. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notifications, because the teachings I am releasing represent the core practices of Kriya Yoga adapted for modern life, practices that were traditionally given only to dedicated disciples after years of preparation, but which I am now offering freely to all sincere seekers, because the world desperately needs people who have mastered themselves and can. Demonstrate what human beings are truly capable of when they remember their divine nature. Write in the comments right now, I unite my will with God's unlimited power and I become unstoppable. This declaration activates your commitment and calls forth the cosmic support that rushes to assist every soul who genuinely commits to transformation. The knowledge has been given. The technique has been revealed. The power is within you waiting to be awakened. The only remaining question is whether you will take action tonight or let this moment pass like 1,000 moments before when inspiration came and went without producing any real change. Choose action. Begin tonight. Transform yourself from a person who wishes into a person who wills. Become unstoppable in your divine power. The universe is waiting for you to claim what has always been yours.